All right, let's get right into it. If you're a data engineer, you know that your entire world revolves around building data pipelines. So today, we're going to crack open the one AWS service that is pretty much the ultimate toolkit for that job, AWS Glue.
You know, in theory, they teach you about ETL, extract, transform, load. Sounds simple, right? A nice, clean, three-step process. But the reality? Oh man, it's never that simple. The reality is this tangled maze. You've got raw data landing in one place, then it has to get moved to a staging area, you've got to catalog it, transform it, schedule the whole thing. It's a messy, multi-stage process that can get out of hand really fast. So, how in the world do you tame that beast? How do you bring some sanity back to that chaos? Well, that is exactly the problem AWS Glue was built to solve. Think of it as a serverless toolkit that gives you everything you need to wrangle all that modern data complexity, but without all the usual headaches. So let's open up this toolkit, shall we? The very first tool we're going to pull out is the data catalog. And the best way to think about this is as your map. Because, let's be real, before you can start building roads and cities in your data landscape, you first have to know where everything is. The Glue data catalog is that map. It's this unified central repository for all of your data's metadata. But here's where the magic really happens. It creates this amazing abstraction layer over your raw files. What does that mean? It means you can have a plain old CSV file just sitting in an S3 bucket, and the data catalog lets you run standard SQL on it like it was a perfectly structured table in a database. It's kind of wild. And the secret to that magic? It's Hive Metastore compatible, which is a fancy way of saying it speaks the same language as all the major query engines in AWS, like Athena and Redshift Spectrum. That's what makes it the central source of truth for all your analytics. Now, inside that catalog, you've got two main ways to define your tables, external or managed. With an external table, you tell Glue exactly where the data is in S3. With a managed table, you basically say, hey Glue, you figure out the best place to put this in S3 for me. But here is the most important part, so listen up. No matter which one you choose, you always own the underlying data. And get this, if you drop a table, all that gets deleted is the metadata, the pointer. Your actual data files, they stay safe and sound right where they were in S3. Your precious data is never deleted. Okay, so we've got our map. That's great. But what happens when the landscape itself is constantly changing? Your data is always evolving, right? You can't be redrawing that map by hand every single day. You need an automated scout. And in the world of Glue, that scout is called a crawler. A crawler's job is just brilliantly simple. It's a three-step dance. 1, you just pointed out your data, say a folder full of files in S3. 2, the crawler goes in, scans everything, and automatically figures out the schema. What are the column names? Are they strings, integers, dates, you name it? And 3, boom. It takes everything it learned and populates or updates your data catalog. It just automates what is easily one of the most boring parts of being a data engineer.
And this right here is where crawlers become an absolute lifesaver. Imagine your source data suddenly gets a new column added to it, like a canceled flag. In a normal world, that might break your entire pipeline. But with a crawler, it just detects that change on its next run and automatically updates the table schema for you. This is called schema evolution, and it makes your data pipeline so much more robust and resilient to change. It's a huge deal.
All right, so we have our map, the data catalog, and we have our scout, the crawler. Now we need the factory, the place where we actually roll up our sleeves and transform that raw data into a valuable, finished product. And for that, we step into the AWS Glue Studio.
Glue Studio is this incredible visual drag-and-drop interface where you can literally draw your ETL jobs. You start with a source node, say your raw order files from S3, then you drag in a transform node to clean up the data or calculate a total order value. Maybe you add a filter node to only keep orders over a certain price. And finally, you hook it all up to a target node to write that beautiful, clean data back out to S3.
And here's the best part, what makes this whole thing so brilliant. While you're just clicking and dragging boxes around in this super friendly low-code environment, under the hood, it's all being powered by the massive, scalable engine of Apache Spark. You get all that power without writing a single line of complex Spark code. But, and here's a little secret for the pros out there, you can always just flip over to the script editor and see the actual PySpark code that Glue Studio is generating. You can even tweak it yourself. It is truly the best of both worlds.
But there's a secret sauce that makes all of this, the catalog, the crawler, the studio, work so beautifully together. There is one core, game-changing principle that underpins the entire service, and that is that it's all completely serverless. So what does serverless actually mean? It's really simple. It means you stop thinking about servers.
period. You don't have to provision them, you don't have to patch them, and you definitely don't have to worry about scaling them. AWS handles all of that underlying infrastructure for you automatically.
So why is that such a big deal? Well, first, it lets you focus on your actual job, writing data logic, not babysitting infrastructure. Second, it scales for you. If your job needs a ton of power, Glue spins up the resources. When it's done, it spins them back down. And that leads to the third and maybe most important point. You only pay for what you actually use, right down to the second. No more paying for expensive servers just sitting around doing nothing.
So when you put it all together, AWS Glue gives you the map, the automation, and the visual factory to build modern data pipelines with a kind of elegance and ease that just wasn't possible before. Which really just leaves us with one final thought. If everyone keeps saying that data is the new oil, well, isn't it time you built a better refinery?